Transit. Is this it? We're in? Almost?
You are in.
Oh, we're in. Hi. We just got the okay from the evil overlord that we are in. In fact,
Evil
hi.
producer. Hello, internet.
Hi. This is Table Topics. This is a subsidiary of our stream of top tabling where we take some really cool, interesting people and we ask them a whole bunch of questions.
About Dungeons and Dragons and top tabling things.
Yeah, exactly. So we're your hosts. I am Justin.
I'm Michael.
And I'm really excited about this one. So this is our first episode. So they're gonna be growing pains. I already feel it because I'm already doing it. I feel like I should have wrote down the intro instead of just being like, I'll wing it. So I just wanted to
Doing it live.
Basically, what we have here is we have a whole bunch of awesome creators in the tabletop RPG world. A lot of their stuff you can find online. Mostly it's what you can bring to your table, to your tabletop game in a really cool, creative, fun, easy way, and usually probably a little bit more cost effective, which is really cool.
Way more cost effective.
Yeah. So today we have Ryan from Brave Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
We have you gave me the seat. We have Kev from Papercraft Dungeon. We have Jess from Trash Mom Minis. We got Marshall from Printable Heroes. And we have David from Occam Arts. And then we have Patty from P-Matic Comics.
Yes.
I feel like I mumbled that. But so we have a whole bunch of awesome creators. I'm really, really excited. So let's turn the page. Do you remember having like the book?
Yeah.
Like the turn the page book? Hi, everyone. Oh my God, everyone's here. You can unmute your mics. You're good.
There we go. Unmuted.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh my God, did you guys hear me say all that stuff? Oh my God.
Was I also supposed to wear armor? Was that a thing?
You know, I think the armor, it was just, I was more self-conscious about the suspenders, honestly.
The armor's not the weird thing. It's the suspenders.
It's the
Yes.
suspenders, yeah. These were my grandpa's, so... I wanted to make a really good first impression.
That was it. Suspenders look nice.
That was it. So I kind of wanted to kind of delve in and pick the minds of everyone here because you're all like, we did some research throughout the week and you guys got some really cool stuff. So I wanted to kind of get it to Ryan because he kind of helped us set this all up. He reached out to you guys. He kind of Nick Fury'd it and formed the Avengers. I feel like we're like Phil Coulson and Colby Smulders. Like you're Maria Hill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can be Maria.
I'll be Maria
Do you know who that is?
Not a club,
okay, great.
But I'm just gonna nod.
Classic Maria Hill. So let's go with Ryan with Brave Adventures. So tell me, Ryan, because you are pretty prominent in the paper mini world. What got you into tabletop RPGs and what did you play for your first game?
Let's see. For my first game ever, it's a little difficult. Maybe. So I was always really interested into D&D, but probably the first game ever that I played was a weird homebrew. It was, do you know Delta Green?
No, I don't know Delta Green. Tell me about it.
So basically, I played, the first game I played was with some friends, and they were really hardcore into RPGs, so they know and play a lot of more obscure games. So I played a homebrew of Delta Green using Dogs in the Vineyard rules.
Okay. No, I'm not familiar with that rule set either.
Yeah. Maybe it's a bit obscure.
Maybe I just don't know anything. That's valid.
Yeah. Delta Green is basically like Call of Cthulhu, but you're like X-Files, CIA type agents, but it's like Black Ops kind of thing. And then Dogs in the Vineyard is this system where you kind of like you bet your dice. And the original setting for that was Cowboys or something.
Oh, okay.
So it was, sorry, that's a bit in the weeds, I guess.
No, that's perfectly cool.
That sounds super awesome, though. That sounds scary to play. Betting my dice, I don't want to gamble anything. No.
So let me see here. Let's move to. I want to move to Dress with Trash Mob. What was your first RPG that you played? And
probably AD&D back in THACO days.
oh, awesome! So I haven't played that. I recently got into tabletop RPGing in like the past 3 years. So what was it like going to like AD&D back when it was like at the height of it?
I don't really know if it was the height of it. It was just what my friends were playing, and I honestly, this is 98. I don't know what the community was. It was a bunch of middle schoolers with a D&D book.
Okay, so that's what got you into like your friends were like, dude, come play with us.
Yeah, and then we jumped to third edition from there once that dropped.
Okay, so it was just definitely just RPGs by peer pressure.
Or just it was a small town and there wasn't much else to do. So it's like, let's go fight imaginary dragons.
Yeah, I'm all about that for sure. I was an indoor kid, as they
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I was definitely.
I had pretend adventures as a kid and walked around with a sword on the streets, and
you're also 17 when you were doing that. So.
True.
Let's move to really quick. We'll move to Patty. So, Patty, what got you into RPGs and what did you play?
Okay, so when I was 13, I was really into literally role play aspect of, in general, telling stories.
Okay.
So I watched this episode on Dexter's Laboratory, and they had a whole episode on Dungeons and Dragons where Dee Dee was the one that made the story.
I don't remember that one. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember it was like very where you could just tell a story, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. So I usually had this friends I used to do a lot of stories with, but later I thought, the grown-up thing to do was to play then this game, Dungeons and Dragons, that actually had rules in it, right?
Right.
So that was actually 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I started with some friends. We started with the started set from the 5 version, the 5th version, and it was the Mines of Phandelver, or Phandelver, or however you pronounce that.
Yeah, Lost Mines of Phandelver. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I started with that.
Very
Very
cool.
cool.
I also started with that as well. So that's a really good starter set. Let's see here. Let's go to Marshall with Heroes. Yo.
Yeah. Let's see. I was a summer camp. I must be 12, and I drew this Skeletor with demon wings thing, and and like my bunkmate was like, "Oh man, I'm making an awesome D&D monster," and I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's this thing where you're a hero and you fight orcs, and it's like we play at the And I thought it was like LARPing, I think is what I thought it was. Like as a 12-year-old, it's like they give us swords and they let us are the camp counselors like the orcs? Like how does that work? And they're like, no, just come and show up and do it. And then it was like, wait, it's paper and math and what is this bullshit? Sorry, can I swear? I'm gonna probably do that on accident. Okay.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, and then what it was like 2 camp counselors that were just like these kind of bro dudes that were just murdering children in D&D. There was like 20 kids, no idea what they're doing, and like every trap was like cutting off arms, and like people were just dying, and like it was like I think 3 of the 20 kids made it out of the dungeon, and that was like fled the dungeon. We didn't, that was the only surviving, and it was just like, and I was missing an arm and like 3 fingers from my other, it was just like, it was horrible. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. I mean, like in retrospect, I'm like, man, that must have been fun. Just like running 12-year-olds through a meat grinder, but it wasn't until like years later, I think it was in like middle school or high school, that some friends had like AD&D, or it might have been 2nd edition by then. And then it was like, okay, cool. This is what that game was supposed to be. But yeah.
Not a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to Kev. What got you into RPGs and what did you play, man?
What got me into it? Back in the day, there was this computer game called Quest for Glory that I absolutely loved.
That sounds. Was it
Some
like a
friends-
text-based adventure game?
No, not that old.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
It's, I mean, it was sort of before VGA graphics, so
Okay.
but yeah. So that was basically like a, I suppose, like a sort of computerized D&D kind of game. And so my friends, one of them discovered D&D from that, and so we played classic D&D for a while, and then graduated to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's how I got into it.
That's awesome. And then let's definitely get David down.
Hey there.
Hey, man. What's up?
Well, it's a direction. I get that often. So what it got me into D&D? Well, 1979, I guess it would have been. I saw a lot of ads in Starlog magazine and Omni magazine, and thought I'd try it out. But it took me about a year, 2 years to find a game to play. And I started off with Gamma World, of all things.
Gamma Worlds. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
So that was Gamma World. It was in '81. It was a first edition, so I guess it was the post-apocalyptic kind of Gonzo, mutants, robots, all kinds of stuff like that. Then I got into basic D&D a couple months later, and then AD&D a couple months after that, first edition, and Top Secret, Champions. Kind of moved from there. Lots of different genres.
Yeah.
Lots of different games. Yeah.
Lots of super fun hopping. Awesome. So I guess we'll segue into basically miniatures, what we all decided to bring this meeting of the minds. So what I want to ask all of you individually, what kind of oh, gotcha. Hey, Patty, we can see you now. Let me see here. So basically, I wanted to see what you currently play, if anything, what you use in game. If it's in person, are you using plastic miniatures, obviously paper miniatures, or if you're doing things on Roll20. So I have like a million questions for everyone. So let's go. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I didn't have an actual map plan out. So
Winging it.
I'm winging it still. So let's go with Kev. So Kev, what are you currently playing right now?
Mostly board games, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just all my friends are at that age where they've got younger children
Mhm.
that take up all their time, so it's hard to get any sort of campaign-based thing going.
Oh no, I totally get that.
We luckily our DM is the only one with children, so we just show up at his house after his kids go to bed.
It's
and-
true. We do wait a good
There you
hour
go.
to have them put down, but it's. Do you say put down?
No.
Yikes! Oh no!
Yeah, I do say put down, and I always feel like
Oh no! So what caused you to kind of get into the paper mini game?
Oh, well, I actually didn't start with paper miniatures. I started with paper scenery.
Okay, and
Uh,
then that just eventually evolved, or
Yeah, well, at the risk of being very boring, what happened was back in the day, I started a blog called Kev's Lounge, which was supposed to be about playing games in Kev's Lounge.
that's awesome.
And after a while, I ran out of ideas to blog about, so I started using my artistic skills to like sort of make things that I could give away to just have some content in the blog. And I started with some dungeon tiles, and those were very well received. And so
so
from
it's
there, I
just
started
filler.
making.
You were just making filler. You're like, oh shoot, I got to make filler. Yeah, and then this all
Pretty
started
much,
from
yeah.
there. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the dungeon tiles were really popular, so I started making sort of models of doors, and then from that I graduated to like full-on props. And then I started a shop, and I was selling stuff, and that was doing pretty well. And from there, I got involved in a community with a lot of other guys here, and they were doing similar stuff to me, but they're also doing paper miniatures. And at first, I'll have to admit, I was a bit of a snob because I liked my metal miniatures. I liked painting them, but they won me over in the end. I liked the idea of being able to store the things flat. I liked the idea of being able to create whatever I needed when I needed it, and it wasn't such a big issue if I never ever used that miniature again, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's fair. I feel like
I
there's
can
always...
definitely see the flat storage. Like we always have miniatures just everywhere that just drive us nuts, and when they get thrown into a box and shoved in a corner because they're always in the way.
They're a really good doorstop, though, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got a whole cupboard full of them.
You still have a cabinet full?
Yeah, tons and tons and tons of metal miniatures. But these days, I just use paper for everything because I got them. I've made them.
That's awesome.
They're mine.
And they're mine. That's fantastic. So let's go to... we have a question from the chat. What's the question, chat? I'm not...
Someone in the chat has asked if anybody in the group has any advice on how to find games online or in person.
So their chat is asking if... well, I think we should... Let's collect them, and then we'll put it towards the end to see if they have... Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up. That's a good idea. Okay, so bring us your questions. We'll
Ask them at the end.
ask them at the panel. This is like a panel. I feel like we're just...
It is kind of like a panel.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's go with Marshall. Marshall,
Yeah.
what did do you currently play anything? What do you use in game?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got 2 games that I play with my former coworkers, which is in person in Portland, and then I have another one which is online, just over Discord with friends that are scattered throughout the world. So that's the way we can all meet up.
That's awesome.
And and I kind of DM both of them. There's another player that actually last night I wrapped up my campaign in my in-person game. I'll be a player, and one of our players will step up and be the DM. And we've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. It's been really cool having like that consistent of a group of people, and we kind of take turns running through a chunk of a campaign, and then someone else will DM for a bit, and it's been great. And we use miniatures and paper miniatures for that one in person. I mean, because I make them, and so that
so it's just easy.
But yeah, and then it's cool. Like I was making, and then like our other DM was just like, "This is great," and he started making stuff for his NPCs and his characters, and it's awesome. It's so cool to see that. Like it was fun. It was first time for me as a player to get to experience that. Like the DM, like getting to see what they picture their characters looking like, the NPCs, and it was such a cool experience. It was fun. Like yeah.
That is super awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I also want to just segue really quick that 2 years ago, I Google searched paper miniatures for my Curse of Strahd campaign, and I found Printable Heroes, and I've been a patron for like 23 months, and I didn't realize we were interviewing you until today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, Marshall from Printable Heroes. And I'm like, what?
That's awesome. That's great. Well, cool. Yeah, thanks. That's great.
No, everyone's got a great product, so I feel like my wallet's going to be hurting very soon. Everyone has amazing patrons.
Looking through them today, I'm like, we need this one and this one and this one.
That's good.
And probably a color printer. That would be a good start as
A
well.
laminator. Perfect. So let's go to Jess.
Hey,
Jess, what are you playing, man?
I'm running a D&D campaign. That's my first time DMing. I usually just play, so it's
Okay.
it's a lot of homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like basically you're in like community college or like college studying every week.
Well, Jess, I like how your approach to DMing is the same way you approach making miniatures, which is like, how can I simplify this and get rid of all the random bullshit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no travel time. That's at this point, my friends are like, so how many plot points is this thing away?
So you're doing like punk rock DMing, just stripping everything away and just going to guitar, drums.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, we only get like 4 or 5 hour chunks, and then I try to complete a quest with the people I have available, and then it's a new quest the next week, so it's kind of episodic.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And then are you using your miniatures or?
Of course, I am forcing them on. They have to use them.
Faithful to this game.
Do they get any requests? Like, do you guys ever get like requests like, "Can you make my character for me?"
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I have a rule that they have to be at least level. Try to make their character, because otherwise it's like someone starts a character at level 2 and then drops out of the session, and it's like, why did I spend all that time making this for you if you're not even going to show up? You need to commit. You're level 5. Yeah.
No, that's definitely fair. Let me see. Let's go to, who didn't we talk to yet? David, because I
Yes.
left you last time. So David, what are you currently playing, man?
Oh man, so much. Monday, I've got a regular group who we've met since like off and on since '81. So it's some of the same people, which is awesome. Very lucky. Yeah, they're very open to playing lots of different things, and I change it up, switch it up every week. They don't know what's going to happen. So they'll be playing D&D, a spy game, a Fargo-based game. They'll be playing a cyberpunk game, westerns. It's just lots of different variety. I also play at school. I run a D&D club at this high school I teach at, and I'm
You're a high
currently
school teacher?
teaching some. I am.
I
Yes.
am as well. I run a D&D club.
It's a D&D club. Do you want me to go? Should we all go, guys?
That's a that's a very familiar thing. A lot of high school teachers play D&D. So I've got a current group right now of grade 9s that I'm trying to teach how to DM, so that they can pick it up and
Ooh,
run their own groups. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Sounds very
So
familiar.
so I'm training the next generation.
I like that. You're training the next generation. I feel like you just give me horror stories all the time.
It's my group stresses me out. I'm working on figuring out how to train DMs. That's still in my discovery. It's only been 2 years. This year I kind of just said, figure it out, guys. Here you go. I had 32 kids walk in. And I was like, I don't know how to work with this. You all figure something out.
You're like, I'm not ready
Wow.
for this level of chaos.
It is chaotic. That's for sure.
Yes, for sure. It is never an organized campaign. It is just the story never seems to flow from week to week. I'm like, what is going on in your story? I don't even understand. But if you're having fun, then I guess that's what matters.
Yeah, it's good to watch them learn too. It's good to see them learn how it works. Yeah.
Let me see. Let's move to Patty. What are you currently playing? And what caused the jump to paper minis if you use paper minis? I feel like you would. I feel like it's upset.
All right, so I'm DMing 2 campaigns, which are paused on indefinitely. Basically, the first one is online, so I really don't have like terrain or anything. And the second one was kind of like theater of the mind because it was very improvised. However, I am planning to do another game, which I'm not gonna DM because I would probably turn insane from having 3 games at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Completely
it would be
understand.
like, I would mess up everything. And I usually recycle NPCs. So it would be like, hey, this guy appears and didn't he die? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot. So yeah, that would be, chaotic. So yeah, I plan to use my minis for that one, and probably just as minis because they kind of have like a cutesy feeling to them,
They
and
do,
like
yeah.
match really cool.
They're awesome. Yeah. And then we have Ryan. Ryan, what are you currently playing, man? What are you using?
Yeah, I just want to change my answer a little bit for the first question after hearing everyone else's answers. So, so my first actual RPG experience was what I described, but the thing that got me into it was Warhammer Quest. Have you heard
Yeah.
of Warhammer Quest?
Yeah.
Totally.
I think it's like a Warhammer skin of Hero Quest.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it's a miniature-based dungeon crawl game with room tiles and lots of Warhammer figures and stuff. But in the box set, they had advanced Warhammer Crest rules, which were basically make it into a RPG game. And reading that book was like my first exposure to role-playing games, like tabletop role-playing games, as like an idea. And
Okay.
I loved it and was like really interested in it for a long time and went on this was back in like the days of web rings. So there was like a Warhammer Quest web ring
Okay.
where you could go and see like mods and just like fan-made content related to Warhammer Quest. And I would just like look at these like 90s websites with fan-made content of Warhammer Quest and just go around the web ring. But I never actually had anyone who would play it with me. So my first experience of actually playing a tabletop game was the thing I described before.
Gotcha. Okay, so you definitely delved in and it piqued your interest, but I think a lot of people have that problem where they're like they want to play something and they're really interested. I know that's going to be in one of the chat questions, but it's I feel like it's a more and more common problem than I think I've realized.
Right. You want to play something, you just can't find the group to do it.
So, do you have a group now that you're playing with?
Yeah. So actually, I'm from Canada, but I've been kind of like a global nomad after university.
Okay.
So I lived in France and South Korea, and now I live in Japan. And so every time I move to a new city, kind of what I find to be like the best way to make new friends is to join a local role-playing group or game group. So like I had a game group in France and a game group in South Korea. And then now in Japan, I have a monthly campaign that I'm in, and about like the majority of the members are my coworkers.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then I'm also playing a kind of a monthly game online with some friends back in Canada. But for that, what we're doing is we're kind of taking turns running the game, and then whoever's running the game chooses the system. So we're trying out like lots of more independent or like smaller name RPG systems, a lot of more narrative ones than versus the ones that use miniatures. For my monthly game in Japan, we play D&D 3.5.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I feel like that's still the most popular version. Well, I don't know with 5e, but I know a lot of people still play 3.5. Like a lot of people prefer that over.
And that's what we started with.
Yeah.
For D&D.
So do you use your own product for the tabletop, the 3.5 game?
Yeah, for the 3.5 game, we use some of our minis, the Brave Adventures minis, and then I also have some sets from all the other publishers here. So I'll mix them in as we play. I'm not running the game, so I'm just a player in that one. I have like a tackle box of miniatures, kind of like a little, and then I just yeah, basically, I like it because you can have like the little compartments and then put the different things in there. But I'm trying to get into a more effective way of carrying around the minis, which is using like a binder book with the trading card
with the baseball
insert
cards.
Sheets.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I use for marshals, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the more popular way of carrying them around, I think.
Yeah, it just makes it super easy and convenient. I'd rather carry a binder. Tackle box sounds cool, though. I would also just slap down a tackle box on the table and just be like, we're using these today.
Yeah, I'm really bad. I just have a big cardboard box, and everything's just a jumbled mess, and it's horrible. It's the saddest thing.
And then, Kev, you said you have like a cabinet of all your miniatures?
That's me or Marshall?
I feel like
I think it was me.
It was Kev. He said he had a whole bunch of metal miniatures in like a cabinet. Am I wrong? Oh no.
No, you're right. I've got an absolute ton of Warhammer and old Rollpather and old Reaper.
I feel like occasionally you'll put on like pants you can't really fit in anymore. But you're like, I looked really cool in those, and I feel like you just kind of open and you're like, just sigh. Maybe you could break them out during the board game. You're like, yeah, I'm playing this, and then just put it back. I would do that. I'd pull that move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, like traveling around to the different countries, I had like a number of years where I basically had to have my life in a suitcase. But when I came to Japan, I'm like, I want to actually play some like miniature games. I want to kind of get into some of my old hobbies before, but I wasn't ready to commit to like getting like a Warhammer Fantasy Army or something of the models and then painting them and maybe like a year later having to give them away or throw them away or something so that my bag's not overweight.
Yeah, no.
So that's kind of led me into getting into making the paper miniatures myself.
Yeah, I mean, ease of portability, that's just no brainer at
Yeah,
all.
for sure.
I wanted to kind of get into the inspiration of kind of where you guys do your process, because everyone's style is, I would say, vastly different. Like, we have things that remind me of like the 1990s X-Men comic, and the cute chibi, and we had like the old, I would say, the old SNES or NES.
Right.
Like, I distinctly remember looking at Kev's and then just being like, that looks like Castlevania art. That's awesome. So I wanted to kind of like go through that and just kind of see what the process is. So I really got to figure out a system, but we'll get there.
Initiative tracker.
Yeah, everyone will roll for initiative. He's like, no, we're not. We won't do it. Next time we'll do it. Why do you look? You look so upset. So we'll start with let's start with Patty. So Patty, where do you kind of get your inspiration from?
All right. So my inspiration usually comes from video games. My whole style is kind of inspired by Zelda and Animal Crossing. And well, I love anything that's cute. So I usually try to make something that looks like, kind of chibi, kind of like cutesy and fat. So
no, I think it's really, really cool. I was looking through your drive-through RPG, and I saw the Bowser set that you made of all the different Koopas and like the dry bones. Like,
that's mine.
That's yours?
Yeah.
Oh no!
I make
Yours
terrain.
looks like
I make
Animal
terrain.
Crossing.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing. I will get back to that. But the Animal Crossing, there were so many minute details I was showing Michael that you have different potions, you have like different setups of things overhanging on the tables that I really liked, and then I really like the labels you make. Like, I was just geeking over the labels that you have for the DMG, the tabs. Yeah, I was having a conniption over it, and those are really cool.
Those are really popular. Actually, when I started my Patreon, I have nothing to there was nothing there, not even sketches. I just put up the tabs there and kind of said, Patreon is going to change to, kind of accessories and terrain. Oh, sorry, there's noise outside.
Sorry, I didn't know if I lost you.
So can you hear me all right? Because there's noise.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so Mexico City, yay! The thing is that when I started making those, people were so they were drawn by the cutesy style. So perfect, I love it, and I never thought that somebody from Dungeons and Dragons they usually like more dark fantasy, gritty stuff. Would like something kind of cutesy. But when I saw the response, I was like, yeah, come on, I like this. So I started, showing around the sketches. People got more excited. I thought they were going to leave, but they didn't. I was really happy. So I've been doing that and kind of doing more things that kind of would be helpful for anyone. Actually, I don't know if you saw the shop I made. The shop is kind of to make, terrain so you can put it in your table. But it's also like a way to make an inventory for common items shop in the spot. The thing has this little items. You can just pick up a bunch and put them in the shelves, and you have your inventory for your shop in less than a minute for whenever the party needs to shop.
I can see that on there right now. I'm looking at it right now. You even have the weights and the prices on there, don't you?
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
Yeah, I don't have any. They're very small, so yeah, they won't show. But yeah, there is the plans to make a lot more, but there are many things that I have to check before, just doing it.
Right.
That's sick. So I'm gonna do it this time. I'm gonna go into the order. So we'll go with David. So David, you're kind of going. It seems like from what I saw it's kind of more the sci-fi. It reminded me a lot of old '90s comics I used to read all the time as a kid.
Sure, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, well, in a past life, I was a comic book artist.
Really?
In the 90s, I had work published in high school comics in with Scholastic. I did some work, educational work with Scholastic as well, and graphic novels. And I published about a dozen how to draw books, and kind of got into role playing. And I got stiffed by a publisher, so I decided I was going to publish my own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into doing paper miniatures. Yeah, there are a lot of comic inspiration. I find my current style might be more influenced by somebody like, or a comic like Tintin, maybe some of the French comics.
Yeah.
I've sort of adopted a style which is a little faster, so that I can produce more work, and it still looks good on the table. And wanted to just kind of have as many genres as possible. So I've got everything from superheroes to spies to fantasy to science fiction, little bit of everything.
Yeah, you have incredibly a lot of really, really cool stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go. I'm going in the circle. So let's go with Kev. So Kev, where do you kind of get your inspiration from for your miniatures?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I suppose the art style I went for is really just comes from me wanting to once upon a time be a comic book illustrator, but I never really pursued that. I don't know. In terms of people that really inspired me, I'd say it's first and foremost good old Larry Elmore. I just liked his approach to Dungeons and Dragons monsters back in the day.
Because I know that Michael, you recently checked out Kev's.
Right, I
sphere.
saw that Champion series. Actually, when we started setting this up, I saw a Champion series that you have going on in your Patreon, and that is super awesome.
It's so good. It is amazing. Everyone should check that out.
Would you mind like elaborating for people listening what the Champion series is?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the concept behind that was that every champion is a particular character, but it's not just a single miniature. It's a whole range of miniatures of that character in different poses. So you would get the character in a battle pose. You'd get the character in a casual pose for when they're in town. You'll get a character sitting down for tavern scenes. You get the character knocked unconscious. You get the character riding a horse. And then you'd also get the horse without the character. And once you get past the first tier, you can actually customize a thing. So the sort of top tier of my Patreon supporters get a PDF that allows them to choose the colors, choose the details of the characters. And there are literally well over 100 million possibilities on some of those top tier PDFs.
Yeah, the amount of detail Kev puts into these is just incredible. Like the different hairstyles back and front, different weapons back and front, and you can customize just a crazy amount for like you want, a human knight, and you want them to have it like on a horse, off the horse, and you can have it customized for the weapon you want, the cloak you want, the hair you want, for both on the horse and off. It is incredible the amount of work Kev puts into these. Is like, as someone who does these miniatures, when I first told me about it, I was like, that is awesome. Holy crap, how are you going to do that? And he's doing it, and it's amazing.
Yeah, we looked at it and for real, I was like, why would anyone spend $3 when you could just spend $2 more and have like
everything?
More options.
I mean, you can have an entire army of knight mounted units, if you need.
Whole army of clones. And you even do what is it? You even have like a piece of the character like portrait where you could just paste it onto your character sheet.
Yeah. So I mean, in addition to all the poses on the PDF, you'll have a portrait of the character for your character sheet, like you said, and obviously that changes as you customize the character, so it gets all the details in.
Yeah, it's just it's awesome. That I really wanted to talk about that because it's just a really cool product. Let me see here. Let's go to Jess. So, Jess, let's talk about your inspiration. We already did your inspiration. Your
I don't think we did.
No, your inspiration. Yeah, where do you get your inspiration for getting everything?
So I've got a background in animation and film, so I try to make stuff that looks like it would read well as a cartoon,
Mhm.
you know, on TV. So I focus on key poses and silhouette, and then I do 600 million thumbnails until I figure out exactly the look I'm going for.
And our evil producer Shane, he is just in love with your art style.
Oh my god!
All your miniatures so much. He's actually shaking his head and keeps saying, "I love it so much." Which I need you to stop whispering in my ear. Please.
Well, thank you.
So comfortable. So yeah, that's awesome. So what I was saying before is I saw your miniatures before on your drive-through RPG, and I was just I loved how everything looked, and it was just really, really cool. I
think Patty and I definitely have some similar inspiration with Nintendo and video game looks.
Yeah, there's just so much charm in both of your guys' work. It's just incredible. Yeah, so much fun. I get jealous of it. It's like I want to do that. Like.
Oh no, for sure. So let's go to Marshall. So where does your inspiration come from for miniatures?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like I grew up with the miniatures, which I think are now like Reaper Miniatures, is kind of the evolution of the company. I think, could be mistaken.
Okay.
But then and so that's kind of where my sensibilities of what I'm trying to hit is the level of realism, the level of simplification. It's about the Reaper Ralpartha, because that's just what D&D is always meant to me, is because that's what I grew up with. And then it's definitely like my style is influenced by like Where's Waldo, and it's like Where's Waldo meets like Joe Mad's Darksiders is kind of how I it's like I don't know. I was also hugely influenced by and this is super obscure, but Twerps, the world's easiest role-playing system. And it was something I stumbled into randomly as a kid, and it was like these little packets. An entire RPG system was 1d10 was all you needed to play it. You had one stat. It was like the booklet had like 2 maps in black and white, and then just like a page of inch top-down tokens of these characters. All the bad guys, all the good guys. And it was just portable and awesome. And that's like what gave me the idea to start trying to do paper miniatures. And that was something I used to play when I was like, I don't know, 12 or something, yeah, so I guess Ralpartha, Reaper Miniatures, a little bit of Where's Waldo, a little bit of Jeff D, a bit of like Joe, probably the hodgepodge that makes what I'm going for.
I mean, you're doing awesome. I think that's a really cool, that's a really interesting hodgepodge of all the things that came in to inspire you. Also, I recently saw the Kraken you have available, and that's also mind-blowing.
Right now.
It's up right. Oh, it's currently scrolling right now.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize you guys were showing those off. Cool.
Yeah, we're showing off everyone's.
Nice.
It's massive.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the cool things with is you can make really cool big things that maybe people couldn't afford the traditional miniature version. Like if you buy a Kraken, it's gonna be $70 unpainted,
Yeah.
And some people can afford that, but a lot of people still want to have a Kraken on their board or something that big that either they can't shell out $75 or their time to paint it. So it's just having that option. It's a really cool place for paper miniatures to come in and provide something. Yeah, and plus it's fun. It's fun playing with multiple pieces. Being
able to move things across the board and all.
Yeah. Anytime you can play with like having ultra states, rage mode, and you flop a new miniature down or whatever,
It's an indescribable feeling if you haven't seen that. It's fantastic. And then let's round it with Ryan. Ryan, where do you get your inspiration from for your miniatures?
Okay, so first off, I should say that Brave Adventures is not just me. It's actually a collaborative project.
Oh, cool.
So there's actually 4 of us, and all 4 of us, like, we have day jobs, and 3 of us have kids. So it's hard for any one of us to devote like so much time on this. So we are kind of working together on it. So there's myself, and there's Pontus Unger, Neil Q, and Gaston Genser. Pontus I met in Japan, and he was basically in the same situation as me, where we wanted to play like the miniature games, but we were hesitant to invest in a bunch of miniatures that we might not be able to keep.
Mhm.
So he's been working on that with me. We worked on it from about 2014 to 2016, and then had to take a bit of a break for kids. But at the time, what we wanted to do was basically make miniatures for the games that we wanted to play, because we were we didn't feel we were in a position to buy the plastic or metal miniatures.
Yeah. And then also I feel like with miniatures, sometimes like with Reaper, or there's like such a specific type that maybe you're going for. Like I play a half orc paladin, and I can't find like a good half orc in armor that, you know, isn't, you know, wearing just like a loincloth. It's so
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, if you're playing so many different systems, that it really just opens up to the customability, and, you know, basically if you don't have something, you just make it.
Yeah. And the first game that we were trying to make miniatures for was skirmish games like Mordheim. So a lot of our sets are like sets of 8 to 10 miniatures, and they're kind of oriented around Mordheim warbands. So you can use it for like songs of Blades and Glory, or Mordheim, or something like that.
Okay. Can you, just for, because I'm terribly versed, can you expand on Mordheim for me? So is that
Okay. Mordheim is obsolete. Like it's a game that's not in production anymore, but still has some fans online. It's in the Warhammer universe, but you're basically controlling a war band in this destroyed fantasy city, scavenging in the ruins of the city for Warpstone, which is, I think it was a kind of like cursed evil meteorite fragments with magical powers. And so you kind of guide your war band around, and between the skirmish scenarios, your warband characters will get injuries and get experience and stuff. But it was more of a skirmish game versus a role-playing game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, anyone who's played like XCOM, the video game, it's kind of like that, but with, you know, 2 to more players fighting each other, a tactical.
Yeah, with like a dark fantasy kind of theme.
Totally. Yeah, they have Games Workshop has Necromunda, which is the, you know, like dystopian future 40K version, which they have now like re-released. They used to have it back when we were kids, but then they discontinued it, and they just recently restarted it. Really cool stuff. I wish I had time to play it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also a common thing. I wish I had enough hours in the day, because, like you guys said, you guys work full-time jobs, and you know, have
Never
other
enough time
lives.
to play everything you want to.
There's never enough time. How do you? I think I'll just segue into that. How do you try to make time, like, for something in that regard? Obviously, you guys have a passion for this, and it's something that you kind of just sat down with. Like David, you said that you have people since 1981 that you still play with.
Right, that's right.
So, do you guys have like a certain schedule? Do you like literally break out a calendar and it's like, this is when we're going to play the days? We're going to do it every Monday or every 13th. How do you? What's your?
That's right. We do
the process for that.
Every Monday. So it used to be Tuesdays, but then I think Buffy came on, and so we had to stop. So we changed it to we changed it to Mondays, and it's something I look forward to. It's something I kind of need. Something that inspires me. I have an excellent group of players that you know, they're loyal, they're friends. We've been best man at their weddings, and godfathers of their kids, and it's been a great relationship over the years. So it's more than just gaming, I think, in that way.
Yeah, because you're basically getting together with like your family, like to play games and hang out.
Yeah, very much so. We support each other. We try to help each other when we can. It's a nice community, and it's nice. It's a family. Yeah. I think that's a great way to describe it. It's hard with work. I am a teacher, so you know, a lot of my time is spent lesson planning and marking, and it can be difficult sometimes. But I just try not to sleep.
That's fair. And then let's. I know, Kev, that you play mostly board games. Now, are you getting together like every Friday to do like a board game night, or do you do it like monthly? How do you set the time to do that?
Oh, we generally like try and get a weekly game in where possible. It has been a little bit tricky over the last few months. Just, as I said, just people having families and just being at that stage of their career where everything is so demanding.
Oh.
You can't really get.
That's
as
super
long as we can get 3 or 4 of us together, we'll play.
I think that's,
Yeah.
there's something beautiful in that. And just getting like, yo, what are you doing today? And it's like, nothing. Like, you want to come and play, I have a Buffy the Vampire Slayer board game.
We still haven't played
I
that
really
one.
want to play it. I bought it, and we have to play it.
Unstable Unicorns will always trump that.
Jesus. Okay, that's great. So Jess, you're currently doing it seems like a handful of games. So how do you kind of fit the time for that?
Oh, it's hard. I mean, I don't have kids, so I can do whatever I want. So that helps.
You bastard.
Yeah, so the game I run, I try to do once a month, but I'm busy also trying to draw a billion tiny guys, and then a bunch of my friends do have disgusting kids, so sometimes we have to work around that.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
They're all sticky.
They are. They have jam hands.
Yeah, my kid said jam hands this morning.
Wake up with jam hands.
How is it possible? And then Marshall, so how do you set time apart for when you get to play?
Oh, it's a lot of bartering because we're like trading off the kids. So it's like, okay, I'll let you. Actually, every Friday night, like I have to wrap up my game and be home so that I can take over watching the kid, who's hopefully asleep by then, so that my partner can go off and go dancing. That's like her night, is Friday night dancing. So it's just a trade-off, and it's just like, yeah. And then also just throwing everything else overboard, like all other social life. I don't have time for that, so it's just like gone, and it's just like working out, gone, eating well, gone. Run and be active, and it's like, no, that's gone. It's like I'm working and family, and then it's like in Friday nights I play D&D.
Yeah, that's what you get to look forward to at the end of the week.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Feel like it's your reward.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Ryan, how do you? I mean, you have your club, so I said, so you have your club, so. That's obviously organized. So how do you ever have to, like, when you go, or you ever like, man, I'm not really feeling up to it, this week's been brutal, or anything in that regard?
Well, when my kids were born, I actually had to take a year or two break from all hobby stuff. So actually, Brave Adventures, we kind of all had kids at the same time, so we actually took a break between 2016. And then we're just kind of getting back into it this year, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, basically I had to take a break from all hobby stuff for a little bit, including D&D. But I was able to phase back into it as the kids became a little bit more manageable.
That's fair.
For my regular D&D group, basically we meet on Sundays because that's the only day where everyone always has off, and then at the end of the game we'll just kind of all compare our schedules and be like, does this date work for you, does this date work for you, and just hash it out at the end every game to work out for the next week. For my online game that I play with friends in Canada, we have like 3 very disparate schedules, and we have like time zones and stuff to deal with.
Ooh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, they're like 15 or 16 hours in the past. It actually changes because we don't do daylight savings time in Japan. So like I have to I have to consult the stars and like use an abacus to like figure out what the time is.
That's fair. I usually use the fingers in front of the sun. I'm like, if it's like half
Yeah.
past 4 fingers, I know it's daytime.
Yeah. So what we do for that actually is I found like a free website. It's like whenisgood.net, I think. And it lets you paint your availability on like a calendar, and then you can share the link, and then other people can paint their availability on the calendar, and then it just kind of like shows which days are left, or like which days have the fewest conflicts kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
So we use that for my online game to kind of figure out a day that we can do it.
Super useful.
Yeah, that is super. Did you write that down? Because I feel like we need that.
Written
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think it's whenisgood.net, unless I'm wrong.
Because we have a bunch of people like what we play at our table. They're all, except for us, are literally in the medical field. So everyone is, working for like 50 hours. Is that accurate? More than that? You're making a face.
I did 51 the past 2 days.
So the past 2 days
But
you're
it's
working
never
51
consistent.
hours, but it's always like we're going by A shift and B shift and C shift. So write that down. I feel like we need that.
I did.
Okay, he wrote it down. Fantastic. And then Patty, because you're running, or you're currently in a few games as well. How do you kind of navigate that, and how do you organize that? Oh no, did I lose you?
She's been having a little bit of issues here.
Oh no, Mexico City.
I think she's moving.
Oh no, you're moving. I can see you moving.
Can't hear you.
I see the hands. Can you sign? So okay, she can't. That's okay. We will get to it. So Shane, you were collecting a few questions there. Do you want to shoot a question while we try to get Patty back?
Yeah, this one was brought up multiple times in the group and the chat of hashtag draw the butts.
Okay, what is that? Draw the button. Who wants to jump on this first? Because I have no verse in this.
Who wants to jump on those butts?
Who wants to jump on these butts, y'all?
Oh man, well. Oh, there she is.
Okay. Oh, talk about it. It's an important topic.
We just bypass. She's like, I don't want to talk about singles. Talk about it. Talk about drawing the
I want to talk about those butts.
butts, yo. So, Patty, tell me about draw the butts, please. What is?
Oh, well, I wasn't the one who came up with it, but okay, you can correct me on this, guys. Basically is the importance of having the back of your mini drawn. And yeah, I think it's important because it helps with the whole immersion instead of, just flipping it. Like it has two faces. It can see you both ways, but in reality, he shouldn't, right? Like the monster or whatever you're fighting shouldn't. So it also helps you know what side to attack, like in combat. But please, everybody else, help me out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's basically the mark of a professional mini that someone has taken the time to design it to draw the front and the back, which isn't very easy to do because you run into issues. You need to know what you're doing to be able to draw both sides of the mini.
Hmm.
You have to make sure it's symmetrical, and you know, I'm guessing you don't want like the butt to match up with where the belly button is or where the chest is.
Well, the difficulty is when you're doing a normal drawing, you'd add a lot of perspective to make the drawing look all dynamic and stuff. But when you draw the back side of that, the perspective is completely warped. So you need to know how to deal with that problem. Otherwise, you can't draw the back.
No,
And the answer is give it a cape.
give it a
Give it a
cape.
cape.
Well,
That's it.
or really long hair.
Shields. Shields are the winner.
Or both.
A big tail
Mhm.
can help too.
I feel
All
like
the
I'm
solutions.
taking these notes down. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be able to do it, but I feel like the butt's important. From
Oh no, yeah, with Draw the Butts, I want to give a shout out to someone who couldn't make it here today. PR Schultz from Terrible Monsters.
Oh,
I
God,
think
did he
maybe-
die?
No, he's busy.
Well, thank God.
He's in the text
Busy
chat.
being alive, Jess.
This could have gotten real dark.
I usually don't give shout outs to dead people.
I also want to give a shout out to David Bowie. I think he
But
really good music.
I think he maybe started hashtag Draw the Butts to pressure artists on social media making paper miniatures to get them to draw the backside.
That's
awesome.
fair. You gotta make a
he's in the
movement to
chat.
draw the butts. He's in the chat.
Mhm.
Oh, he's in the chat.
Cowboy
What's he
Centaur.
saying?
He said the reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated.
Okay. So the draw the butts is basically just make sure that you're doing a service to your product and your customer, making both sides of your.
Well, there's no point in releasing it in releasing a paper mini if it's mirrored. I mean, you can just Google any monster and mirror it yourself.
Yeah.
So it kind of defeats the point of the artistry behind it.
Yeah, and then you're probably drawing like a big old X of where like this is where the back is.
Yeah, with the shadowed backs, it's all a crime.
Okay.
Also, how is the rogue going to know how to backstab? Right.
Yeah.
That's true. How are they going to get sneak attack?
That's it.
Oh, man. What else we got there, Shane?
All right. We did this one. We did the process. How do they manage when they start getting bogged down by too much work?
How do you? Oh, that's very valid. How do you try to balance getting like fried or bogged down from either real life or deadlines you make for yourself or for your Patreon? How do you kind of alleviate that if you can?
I'm also interested in this answer.
Yeah, we all are at this point. Yeah.
You mean it's
You are
impossible
asking
to
the
alleviate
wrong
it?
group.
Everyone's I just have a bunch of super stressed people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Oh, we are exhausted husks.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I think one of the things I can say for like avoiding is just like do shit you enjoy, and if you find yourself really not enjoying it, then it's just like take a break and go back to kind of your through line of like, well, why did I get into this? What do I like doing? And like for me, it's I want to make stuff for the people that I'm playing a game with, and so like I can always kind of recenter myself. Too crazy and stressed out about things. It's just like, no, why did I do this again? It's like, oh, because like ever since I was 12, I liked making games with my friends, and that's really what it's all about. And for me, that'll help me get back and be like, okay, screw this other stuff I thought was important. I'm just gonna make this because it's what I care about, And when you
I
can
do
afford that. Yeah.
I do what I like to call the shower cry.
I've done that a few times.
For
So
sure.
how long are you shower crying, Jess?
It is cleansing.
It is
Yeah.
cleansing of the soul and the body.
Well,
It can be quite overwhelming, though. It can be a lot of work. But I think if it doesn't feel like work, then you're doing it right, I suppose. But I put out about 48 minis a month.
I was gonna
So-
say if you didn't say how many, I was gonna be like, Dave is
Yeah.
40 a month. That's crazy.
So between 48 to 50 minis, and it can really add up.
Yeah.
Especially doing the fronts and the backs. I've got a pretty good system, but I mean, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, I'm a husband, I've got a lot of responsibilities, and I'm an adult. I've got to do this stuff, and but all of this, as I'm moving on towards my retirement as a teacher, I want to be able to do this full time, and this is how I'm setting it up. So, I'm looking forward to actually making more a month.
Wow. So you're looking to increase the amount that you're outputting. That is super impressive.
One thing Dave mentioned there that I think is really important is like kind of defining a system for you, and like if you notice with the people that are familiar with my minis, it's like I have a very similar shadow, highlight, rim light system, and I do that so I don't have to make decisions, like new decisions all the time. I can skip the decision because I've already decided this is how I'm doing it, and I'm just going to do every miniature like in that way. And that saves me time and can allow me to be more efficient. And I'm sure, Dave, you must have developed a similar system for like, okay, this is how I'm going to do 40 minis a month by following this format and not have to solve new problems by creating new problems for myself.
Oh yeah, and there's shortcuts like I find, like the capes thing was mentioned.
Yeah.
I just released a set of minis I did this week for International Women's Day for a fundraiser for a women's shelter in town, and I've got 24 minis in this set, and I really wanted to make it a full set, and I wanted to make it a pay what you want set for drive-through role playing. and I didn't have a whole lot of time because I had another set to finish off for my patrons. So it adds up, but I think I've kind of discovered some shortcuts of how I can do it, and I think that's always helpful.
Yeah, just I feel like that was just like such an earnest and wholesome answer. Like that was, I feel like all warm and tingly. Awesome. I got tingles. What else do we got in the old treasure box there, Shane?
People were asking if Marshall can go into his designs for his Infernal vehicles.
Okay, Marshall, let's talk Infernal vehicles, my guy. How do you go into that process? The people want to know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Basically, what was it? I've been thinking about them forever. I was running, which I just wrapped up actually last night, and people had been not getting to the vehicles yet, and I hadn't really had to make any. And then I ended up having to like draw on Post-it notes because I didn't make any. Just like a quick top down for my players to use, and like it was just so much fun. It was like Mad Max, It's just Descent of Avernus. I highly recommend that aspect of it. The war machines is like some of the most fun you're going to have at a tabletop, and just seeing how the players were playing the game, like the way that they were leaping onto these vehicles, fighting on them, and they're moving and ramming each other, falling off, and I just realized how important it was to make the vehicles like almost like terrain, where there's lots of spaces for the characters to stand and then have other characters jump on and fight them and maneuver around and have some objects on them like the engine blocks that like they have to move around or climb over or something, just to make it even more interesting than just driving a car. You're fighting over the top of it. And then as far as actually designing them, it was really just trying to find something that fit the archetypes that they established for the different vehicles, which kind of have, like crew size of 4, crew size of 8, and then being able to support certain weapon station placements. And then beyond that, it was actually very easy and flip it, and I didn't have to draw the vehicle on the top-down token, so that was amazing, and I could just pump out a bunch of them. Yeah. It was beautiful. I'm looking forward to doing like some wagons and some other stuff now, some boats, I think.
Yeah, boats would be really cool. I have a missing of boats in my life. We're going to need a boat soon in our camp. Great, thank you. I made a boat, and you broke it. You destroyed it in game.
I destroyed 3 boats.
You destroyed 3 boats.
3 boats. You guys have gone through it.
But I was looking at the pictures while you were kind of going over, and I get a lot of because you mentioned Skeletor earlier. I see the grinder. It looks like a mix between what Skeletor would ride if he was in like Wacky Racers.
Yeah,
like, it's just super rad looking, and it's nasty looking at the same time. Like I'm just
I didn't
know that.
It's fun to get to make stuff like this, like especially with those.
Yeah, no,
toys, like action figures that I played with as a kid. Like, I get to make this thing and my players get to play with it. This is awesome, Yeah.
Shane, can you print that out? Because I'd like to find Steed and just use one of Marshall's
Infernal
Find Steed.
Yeah, I'd like to use an
Is this a sentient car now?
Yeah.
No, it's right.
You've seen Inspector Gadget. His car could talk in the movie. And what else did you have in the treasure box there?
The big one that's been asked a couple times is any of them dreaming, is their goal to develop their own world and content or to continue working off the RPGs that they're existing? Yeah.
Okay, so just in case you guys didn't hear, so is your current goal to kind of expand and make your own RPG, or just solely fixed onto what you're currently doing for different tabletop RPGs?
Oh, geez. I've made lots of RPGs.
So say Dave is constantly making new. Yeah.
What aren't you doing, David?
He's living the dream. That's what he's doing.
I started out, I did a role-playing supplement for the Big Eye Small Mouth game back in the 90s.
Okay.
I did a urban fantasy setting for that book. And then for myself, I've done all kinds of games. I've done a tabletop print and play tabletop game called Dark Fast Dungeons. I did a role-playing game version of that's available on Drive-Thru as well. I did Save the Day, which is a superhero role-playing game. Grandma World, where you basically get Golden Girls meets Scooby-Doo. done did a game called Anime Hack. So I've done lots of writing for games, lots of adventures for White Star and White Box and other OSR games, and a couple adventures for Vigilante City, that sort of thing. You know, I've been busy.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been incredibly busy. I'm gonna go back to the structure of the circle. So Kev, are you specifically looking to just stick to fantasy paper miniatures? Or are you looking to expand? Where are you kind of sitting at?
People keep asking for stuff that's not fantasy, but I don't know. It's a comfort zone I'm not too keen on leaving right now.
No,
A lot of people say he needs to also talk about his scenery and stuff like that because it's apparently amazing.
So people are because you mentioned that you painted scenery. So apparently people in the chat are saying that they would like you to expand upon your kind of your scenery and how your process with that.
I haven't done much scenery in a while. I've got to be honest. But in some of the pictures that I sent you earlier, you can see it in the background with all the miniatures there. I can send you some more pictures if you want.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll throw
We'll blast those out on the social medias and the whatnots. But I mean, it looks like are they currently cycling now? And,
Yeah, that's them.
They just
yeah. I mean, well, so I mean, in the one with all the cultists, you can see pillars and there's a statue in one of them. And little bits and pieces. It's you just tried to make be used in game. Like I said, in the early days, I was a bit of a snob, so I wasn't doing paper miniatures. I was still sticking with the metal ones.
Right. Well, I mean,
so
they're
I
saying
to work with those.
Apparently, a lot of people are giving kudos to the graveyard. That the graveyard you designed is apparently just stunning.
It's incredible.
So please,
show them that tree. Show them that freaking tree, Kev.
That tree is just madness.
Y'all seen this tree?
I have not seen this tree. Can you please throw the tree?
Y'all not seen this tree?
Jess is very aggressive about the tree.
Kev, show them that tree.
Fuck yeah, get the tree, buddy. Can you get the tree for Jess, please?
The trees. You actually do have a picture of the tree. It's the one with the dryad. The trees are in that picture there.
I'm looking.
He's looking. He's going to throw it out.
Yeah,
I'll put it up
a little bit cut off.
Jess is very passionate about it.
Yes, Jess is very passionate about it.
Can't really see.
So
let me dig up a picture of it.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. So we can kind of see the roots, with the dryad. So is that just something that you just plucked out of your head, or that's you got inspiration from that from somewhere?
It was just me trying to make a 3D tree that folded flat. So it basically works the same way as paper minis, but it's got volume to it, like a 2.5D tree. And then sort of after the game, you can just fold it flat and put it into a folder, and it's out of the way.
Okay. I mean, it's where he's trying to throw it up.
I'm gonna put it up right up front.
You're gonna put it up front. Are you gonna block everyone with the tree? Okay.
The tree's gonna take up the whole screen.
All right. So welcome to the tree. We're gonna talk about elms, ashwoods, and I don't know any other trees. Maple.
Oh,
birch.
Yeah, birch.
Birch.
You know. So blow that. It's just gorgeous, and if you can see, 2 people have capes, and there's definitely a butt there. I'm learning so much, which I appreciate.
I feel like I've grown as a person today.
I've definitely grown as a person. It's just it's incredible, Kev.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's keep moving. So Jess,
what's up? I forgot the question. We're talking about
also for trees. It was are you
building his own world?
What is your favorite?
Building your own, what's your favorite
I think it was how many trees can you name?
Oh God! Telephone pole.
Don't even think about it. Just keep going.
Gun.
The larch.
Broom.
Yeah. Broom. Tall bird. So. No, I'm not designing my own world because that involves a lot of writing, which is something I don't like to do.
That's fair.
Writing is for people that can't draw.
You know what?
No,
Hi,
that's
that's me.
So I want to segue really quick. So I know that it went viral that you probably all have heard about this. Like 1 of every 5 people don't have an inner monologue. And so our producer is one of those people. He thinks in just pictures. So that's definitely what reminded me. And he put up the graveyard with the giant tree in the middle of it for the stream.
Yeah,
So
that thing's amazing.
It's gorgeous.
it's just incredible. But so are you just going to stick with your current style? And
I mean, yeah, I'm liking. I mean, it's also a lot of the minis I make are for the games I play, and we're playing fantasy games. So it's just nice to trick the internet into paying me to make models for my own games. But
apparently he did music for some French tabletop RPG.
So apparently someone's ratting you out, and they said that you did miniatures from a French RPG.
I don't.
Cats with teapots for helmets.
Oh no, that's Ryutama. That's a Japanese RPG.
Oh.
It's a Japanese. So put that in chat.
Yeah. No, I just thought those were dope.
They sound dope.
They do.
No, I am working on someone else's game though, so doing a lot of illustrations for another RPG.
Oh, that's awesome. And we
But
will
just the illustration side. I don't write words. I'm bad at words.
So you're just doing like character design.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Marshall, are you sticking strictly to fantasy role playing? Are you going to expand or?
Yeah, I'd love to expand. I mean, I'm playing D&D 5th edition, and it's also kind of just has the broadest audience, so it just kind of makes sense to stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I still really enjoy it. Like, I'm excited to keep working on monster manuals and make some heroes and da-da-da. But I definitely would love to branch out. It's just kind of like, you want to find the time. And then also, for like, especially sci-fi, there isn't kind of a central, like, D&D or like kind of what's great about D&D is everyone knows what the archetypes are and understands it. But with sci-fi, it's like, what are you doing? Are you doing Star Trek? Are you doing Star Wars? Are you doing Battlestar Galactica? Like, there isn't such an established central. So it's harder to make one thing that, like, I can make an orc, and that's going to work for all the different types of fantasy things for the most part. But if I make, like, a storm, that might not work for necessarily, Star Trek, like it can. But go ahead.
A lot of a lot of sci-fi is more IP driven, while fantasy is more archetype driven.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to kind of coast in the legal waters of fantasy.
Yeah, and even without like worrying about the legal side, find like kind of a common understanding of what it is that you're making. Like if you're making a mech, it's like, is that going to be like tribes mech? Is it going to be battle, like the battle tech? It's just. I don't know. It's just hard to define that. Fantasy is just so broadly generalized at this point.
A hard thing to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then, like,
I tried to.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I tried to approach it as a thematically. So I have a retro space line, which is sort of like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, and I have a extra stellar line, which is more like 70s to 90s sci-fi. So there's a lot of homages and pastiches where I try to like file off the serial numbers and present something that's original in that sense. But yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So, Patty, are you focusing solely on fantasy and what you're playing, or you think you might expand and try to do something that is a complete creation of your own?
So I do like to write a lot, and
writing's good.
Writing is wonderful, and
I don't care for it.
Well, I've always loved like the magic element of medieval fantasy, but the sci-fi is also like a genre I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I would try to do something on the sci-fi like later on when I have enough from this and I'm kind of bored of it, maybe if I get ever bored of it because I love it. But sci-fi would be nice, and I also would like to try my hand on doing like my own system. But later on, when I actually have tried it, another one that is not only Dungeons and Dragons, because you gotta learn this thing before trying it yourself.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryan, because you're in the interesting scenario where it's not just you. Are you and the other Brave Adventure guys? Are you guys looking to, strictly go with just fantasy and with the systems everyone knows, or are you also trying to kind of branch out or make your own system?
Yeah. So right now, because we just kind of relaunched in January, our main goal right now is to find our footing and to figure out a sustainable way to do things, because we have the kids and the job and everything, so we don't want any one of us to burn out. So that's kind of our focus right now. But Pontus and I are both also into board games, and we both really like board game design, so we're always sharing design ideas and prototypes with each other. But so far it just doesn't leave the internal conversation. There's nothing available yet that we can share with anyone, but it's definitely something we'd like to get into. For other projects, for the online game that I play, I told you we take turns game mastering each time we play. Sometimes when I play, I'll kind of use the other guys as guinea pigs so I can play test a rules light system that I'm trying to work out. So we have stuff we're hoping to do, but it's not really available yet.
No.
Another thing I'm interested in doing is kind of new ecosystems.
Okay.
Creating new fantasy or some creatures that could be used in a fantasy or sci-fi setting, and kind of work out the ecosystem that they would be in as something that we could use in our miniatures, or something that any of these guys could use for their miniatures, and just kind of create a new creature that anyone can use is something that I'm hoping to do at some point in the future.
That's awesome. Make a versatile creature.
Yeah, kind of a open IP, so people don't have to just rely on the Call of Cthulhu or the D&D mythos.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually wanted to talk about, because I know that it was mentioned when we were doing research today. Half of the people here were involved in something called Table Clicks. What exactly was that, and what is that? And just in case some people haven't heard of it, what's the goal for it?
Leave it to Kev.
Oh no, did we lose Kev?
Oh,
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Kev.
We're putting you forward to talk about table.
Yeah.
Talk about table clicks. What?
Yeah. So we know that some of you were working on Table Clicks and still are. Or I wanted to get an idea of what it was or what it is, and just kind of expand on that.
Okay, so basically they're looking at producing a range of plastic versions of all of our minis. Well, not all of us, but the paper mini designers that got involved. It's Marshall here, Ryan, Brave Adventures, myself, and a few others that aren't here, like the Paper Forge crew, and some new artists they brought on. They've got quite a range of stuff that they're planning to put out. It'll cover most of the average person's D&D mini needs, and they've got all the same benefits of the paper minis, in that they're very easy to store compactly. They're nice and vibrant. They actually sent me a sample of them, so I've seen the product in person, and it's really top quality. Very good quality printing, good materials. It's Fantastic. The only thing is they've just held back on their Kickstarter for it for a little bit because they really need to get their marketing in place. I'm looking for
That's fair.
some people to help them boost the promotion so that they can start again strong.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it is it's kind of a buildable, where elements of it are clickable. That's where the table clicks come, where you can actually have like a map, put a board down that has slots you can click into and build, like, say, castle walls, and then a platform on the wall. Or even the thing that I did with them was doing a 2.5D version of one of those war machines, where there were like actual sides and then a platform for drivers. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential product that they're working on, and as far as you can construct a wagon and you can have your miniatures run, and you can swap parts and like click in a tree or click in props, and it works well with kind of what we're doing in a 2D space. And it's printed on acrylic plastic stuff. Is that right? I'm not terribly familiar. I'm asking the other.
Yeah, it's basically plexiglass.
Yeah, plexiglass. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's sturdy and can support stuff. And anyhow, and it's a little bit easier for people that like getting into the side, but are a little intimidated by like printing out and cutting precisely and gluing everything together. It's like, here you just click, 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 click. So it's a pretty cool idea.
That's awesome. Wow.
And I think one of the coolest things about the project they're trying to do is it's not just the Kickstarter, like, make our stuff the one time and it's done. What they're really trying to do is make a new platform, like kind of like Threadless or Redbubble have the print-on-demand T-shirts, or the Lulu or Drive-Thru has the print-on-demand books. What they're trying to set up is like print-on-demand 2D miniatures where any publisher can upload and sell their stuff through it. So not just the people involved in the Kickstarter, but if it was successful, then anyone else here or anyone else listening would be able to upload and sell their own miniatures printed on the same material.
Oh wow,
that would be phenomenal.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So what kind of brought it? Kev, did you bring, I'm gonna Nick Fury it again. Did you Nick Fury it and just like get all of these different, you're shaking your head. Did you like collect this group of people of like, I like this person's work, you just kind of hodgepodged your way of getting a group that you liked?
Are you talking in terms of the papercraft community? Are you talking about table clicks or
just with table clicks? Like, how did you? Because I know some people are involved in it that are here, and some aren't. Yeah, how did you get that together?
I'm just one of the artists involved. Like,
I'm not sure. I think Jed, who's kind of been my point of contact, reached out to me because he saw I was doing a Kickstarter with Geek Tank Games, doing a series of miniatures that are cut. And I wasn't available to work with him because it was already going on with Kickstarter. And so then I was just like, you should check out all of these other really good artists. And so then they went and reached out. And they might have been reaching out to them already. But that's kind of how I became aware of it, and it snowballed. And then it just happened that before their Kickstarter was going to launch, I happened to do the War Machines. And that was something that was really cool to work and talk to Jed about it. And that kind of got tacked in at the tail end. Which was kind of cool to see. Yeah,
that's awesome. So Jed was the Nick Fury. Got it. It's in my notes.
Yeah, he was definitely the Nick Fury.
I actually
been really fun to work with because he just constantly just like you toss him something and then he toss you a prototype of like, hey, this is what it's gonna look like. You're like, cool. Yeah.
A question has been asked by the Cowboy Centaur.
Okay. Cowboy Centaur?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wants to know when the community as a whole is going to embrace Kev's Halo style art.
So, did you hear that, everyone?
Them's fighting words.
The answer is never.
Cowboy Centaur prefers the Halo style.
That's what he said.
If you look at one of the pictures of my minis, you'll see that I have a white outline around the characters, which is a contentious point because, like drawing the butts, there's a lot of strong opinions on the right way to put a border around a mini.
Yeah, it's there'd be a schism in the community.
I see. So, Patty, do you feel partial to halos around paper miniatures when you use them, or do you have like you're just happy with what you have, or what do you think?
I just do terrain, so I don't know. Like
Right.
when I actually tried to do minis myself, because that was the first thing I tried to do on my Patreon.
Mhm.
I tried just making them white, so that way the people that downloaded them and printed them kind of would decide if they wanted to actually outline, like cut the outline, or just cut squares. You know.
Mhm.
But
That's fair.
now that I've seen the black ones, like the black outline, I feel it gives it a much more finished style. Like it feels like a piece of like a board game instead of just, you know, some paper you cut there and put. So yeah, I like the black border, and you know.
Yeah, a lot of it's about trying to solve like the readability. It's just kind of I just want to approach that. And having that black border kind of helps make some stuff pop, but it can kind of darken the colors a little bit, or sometimes it. And having that white around it can help the colors pop sometimes.
Yeah.
But then it can also, yeah, like Patty was saying, make it look a bit unfinished and not as like polished or professional as having a black edged mini. And then Kev has a white border, black with border, kind of gets the best of both worlds.
It's like a
But,
white border with a black border.
right.
It's like a blur.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
That's yeah.
For most of the miniatures, or most people buying everyone's miniatures or using everyone's miniatures, they're going to be cutting them with like a hobby knife or like an X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So kind of the black border is like a little bit functional. What you want to have like some bleed, so that you're not cutting white paper around the miniature.
Yeah.
You want some color around the miniature. So that's where the black border comes from. And then I guess the halo that Kev does is to make it pop out more, I guess. But not everyone does that.
I also color my miniatures in a very high contrast style. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I use a lot of heavy shadows, and if I don't have that halo around it, what actually happens is that the miniature just disappears into the void. So that halo, one of the purposes is that it sort of maintains the silhouette. The miniature doesn't just disappear into the black background. But also, when it's on a table sitting 4 feet away from your eyeballs,
Mhm.
and you've got top lighting, so it's not actually catching the miniature.
Right.
Just having that halo actually keeps the miniature very visible on the table, so you can actually see it and identify it, which is one of the sort of things that paper miniatures sort of fall a bit flat on, is that they don't have the 3D form to catch the light like a metal plastic miniature might.
Right.
So that's the reason for it. It's people always complain about the aesthetics of it, and I agree, the aesthetics aren't the greatest. But in terms of function, I find it works very well.
Makes
But
sense.
I do actually offer options without the halo for people who really.
Okay, so you can have the best of both worlds. If you don't want the halo, you can
Yeah.
drop it.
Yeah.
What else you got over there, Shanye?
I was told to bring up Ryan's whale paper mini in the underwater set because apparently there's not many of those.
So yeah, we want to talk about Ryan's underwater mini and whale set.
Okay. So we have a sea creature set. I think there's 15 or 16 sea creatures in it, and one of them is a large whale. If you print it out, it like both sides together, it will fill like a letter size or A4 page. It's a big mini.
Okay.
But
Massive.
I think what he means is there's not many people selling whale paper miniatures for gaming. The reason why we have that is because we did a paper miniature set in, I think, 2016 for Antimatter Games. They have a tabletop skirmish game with like a underwater setting, where you have different war bands of underwater themed factions, and then they needed a bunch of sea creatures to kind of like show up as wild animals that appear randomly during the battle. So they would have the regular line of the plastic miniatures, and then occasionally during the skirmish battle, like a whale would pop up and get in everyone's way or something.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I see something. So let's talk about Paper Realms. So what exactly is Paper Realms?
So he produces cut files for a lot of these minis for silhouette machines.
Okay, so like a Cricut?
Yeah, I guess Cricut's a different company, isn't it?
Yeah, different brand, but
Yeah.
cutting machines that can automatically these out, which can save you a lot of time and effort and your wrist.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll admit, what is it, Marshall? Your dragon, one of your dragons. I was like, I'm gonna get all the black out of here, and then I'm like, no. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I got so frustrated and looked so gross. I'm like, I tried really hard.
It's rough. I always feel bad because, like, at this point, automatic cut machine, just make this simpler and not like look as cool, because it's easier to cut out. That's one of the reasons I'm really jealous of like Jeff, because it's like he does such a great job of simplifying the forms so that they read and they cut well, and it's just like anyhow,
I
yeah,
like those big shapes.
yeah, they're great. It's good, yeah.
Love big shapes. Do you have any other super awesome questions in the chat?
No, not really.
No. So I
Nothing
wanted
else
to
to say.
just kind of move on as we kind of go to a close here. I wanted to kind of figure out what you guys were working on and what your next projects are, if we haven't already talked about it. So I want to start with Patty again. I know that you said you wanted to kind of delve into different kind of terrain. Is there anything that you're particularly working on that you want to tease to people?
So since I'm just starting, I have very little things. So I right now want to focus on the basics things. So right now, this month, I'm working on a jungle set, which has proven kind of difficult because, jungle usually think just a lot of plants, and, paper plants are really difficult to build. So I've been, trying to figure out how to do things that are a bit more easy and less time consuming to build for a jungle set. But I guess a lot of things will kind of be flat. And I'm also working on, your typical mine with crystals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So we're working on a jungle set and a mine set.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So David, I have to ask, what aren't you doing?
Well, I just drew 2 miniatures as we were talking.
What did you say?
God damn it, Dave.
True story.
Can you share that with us? Can we bring that up?
I don't know if I have them handy, but anyway, I'm working on some buildings, some modern and superhero buildings for a set called Sinister Cities, which should be released in the next 2 weeks or so. So I'm just fixing some of the geometry on that and making sure that I have rooms that you can drop in, so you can have interior of the buildings. So lots of just stackable, so you can stack them to the heavens.
That's awesome.
And I'm also finishing up some books for Save the Day. It's the superhero game. Two expansion books I'm doing for them of gear, and some city books. And then I've got a Darkfest Dungeons Adventures I have to finish. So there's a lot on my plate, but it's fun. It's amazingly hilarious. Yeah.
I have a question. When do you have time to sleep?
I try not to. I average about 4 to 6 hours, which is generally what I've been sleeping since I've been in, grade school. So, yeah, I used to did a lot of reading, did a lot of writing, did a lot of drawing, and it kind of pays off actually, because then I'm able to do lots of other things. So. So that's pretty much, I have to be very disciplined. I can't watch a lot of TV. I can't play a lot of video games. I kind of have to focus. So the discipline helps.
Oh, no doubt. For sure. Kev, what are you working on?
Right now, I'm just putting all my attention into trying to make the champion series tick along properly. When I first started, it was very ambitious, and I had no idea of how difficult it was to actually make that happen. It's I literally was spending 3 weeks just laying out PDFs. but I've managed to speed that up somewhat, and I'm getting there.
So
but, once I've got that working nicely, I've got some ideas for stuff I'd like to. I might get back to doing some more terrain because people are constantly asking me to do that again.
So I know you have a few sets from the with the series. Are you looking to expand any more races with your champion series?
Well, I mean, it's just as I finish one, I move on to the next. So I'm busy wrapping up a half-orc gladiator at the moment. Well, the top tier version of that, which actually has an option to make a hobgoblin if you want.
Oh, that's awesome.
And from there, I'm going to. Well, the next one I'll be starting very soon is going to be a female elven warlock.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get as many of them out as I can. So we've got lots of different archetypes to work with. When someone decides time to make a new character, they can go in there and find the archetype and create the character the way they want to.
That's so cool. Awesome. Jess, what are you currently working on?
Oh, I'm just trying to keep my head above water on Patreon. Just kind of pivoted, doing heroes and monsters for about the last year on Patreon. I was just doing monsters and NPCs, but now I'm doing kind of half packs with a couple heroes, couple monsters. So yeah, that's kind of the primary focus. I'm working on a RPG called Little Legends. I'm doing the art for that. Designed all the races, so check out Little Legends on Facebook. You'll see a lot of my drawings for their monsters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so those are the two big gigs.
Yeah, that's. Oh, those are adorable. Oh my god! So if you can throw those up,
I will throw them up.
He's throwing them up. But we'll move. Marshall, what are you currently working on?
Currently wrapping up some kind of barbarian druids and shamans, and then hoping to start plugging away at the last few miniatures I have. Lost Mines of Delver, kind of represent that full set. I think I'm missing like 3. And then I want to move on to Dragons of Icefire Peak, rotate through some more Curse of Strahd stuff, and then get back to working on some Rise of Tiamat kind of stuff. It's just too much. There's always, like, I feel like at any open a book and do something. Oh, and currently I'm tying up Iron Man for my son. Yeah.
And then Ryan, I wanted to talk about what because you guys are recently starting up from January.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you can kind of tease in the upcoming months?
Yeah. So we released a set in January that I just put up on DriveThruRPG today, and that is a set of 8 female characters. They're kind of D&D style PC characters, like a druid, a spellcaster, etc. And those are by Pontus Unger. And so one of the things we want to do with our female characters that we do is we don't want our characters to just be like supermodels. Like, you don't have to be like a supermodel or something to be an adventurer or the protagonist of a story. Yeah. So what we try to do is, or our design principle when we're designing female characters, is we try to have like different body types, different ages, like as much variation as what you'd expect from a set of male characters.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we've had 2 all female character sets that we've released. One was kind of we call it Sword Sisters, or a Sisterhood of the Blade, and maybe you'll see it in the slideshow. They're the nuns with swords.
Oh, that's awesome.
So with that, we tried to have like lots of variation with the types of characters, and so we tried to do the same thing with the adventures that we released. And then this month for Patreon, we're releasing a set of 8 monsters.
Mhm.
It's going to have like a zombie ogre, aboleth, a lich, and 5 others.
That's really exciting. That's really, really cool.
And in there's a couple more things. It's not paper miniature related, but
no, that's perfectly fine.
I have a lot of time on the train in Japan. Like usually per day, I have like 4 or 5 hours commuting time.
Okay.
Plus. So what I figured out in recent years is I can do some programming on my phone with various apps. So I've made some generator tools, programming on my phone in like JavaScript and stuff. So one of the things I've made is a generator. So it's a tool you can use to generate generators, like to create your own random RPG generator.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it would let you input your own list of whatever, like characters, weapons, etc. And then it has a kind of like a format, so you can format how the output will come, and you can choose which items and where the items go in the outputted format. And that I just released a beta version of that on our Discord, on our Patreon-only Discord.
Oh,
so if anyone wanted to try that out, that is available somewhere. But when that's when these projects are finished, I post them for free on our website. We had a grimoire generator on our website before that would generate like a random title and description and like gold and spells and stuff contained in the grimoire.
Oh, that's cool.
That's not currently available. I'm in the process of upgrading the website. But when that's available, it will be online there, probably within, hopefully, like a month or 2. And another project I'm working on in terms of random generators is for my D&D 3.5 group. We've been playing for about 5 years, and our characters have started an army. So I think our army has like a few hundred or maybe 1,000 people in it. So one of the things I thought would be cool is if we could have like stats for all the people in the army. So I made a generator that will generate D&D 3.5 stat cards. This is something that's finished. So it makes like a little like Magic the Gathering size playing card that you can print out from your computer. It'll make like a sheet of them, and it has like a random name, random description. It will calculate the stats and the skills and stuff based on the D&D 3.5 SRD.
Super cool.
And I had that online for a while, but I want to try to update it to 5th edition. So right now it's not publicly available. I need to re-release it for 5th.
That's awesome. Perfectly fair. I will be awaiting that. That sounds amazing. Does anyone else have a non-D&D related project that they're working on?
Patty said she's doing a comic.
Yeah.
Which is insane looking.
So talk
Yes.
about that.
I've been writing a story for like 3 years, something like that, and I'm finally going to work on it this year and release it. It's part of the idea to have at least 2 pages of it this month, because I'm still trying to how do you say, like see how much time I need for each page.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the final, like the what I want to do like in life is just comics and Patreon. Like that's kind of like what I want to do. So I'm starting on the comic right now.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And then when you're on your Patreon, can you look up the can you kind of go with the progress of it? Or so
Oh.
there's a picture on the screen that you sketched during the conversation itself.
Yeah.
Is that Gwenpool?
Oh, that's one of David's.
Jay.
Is it?
That's one of
Never
David's?
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
backwards. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Our producer's failing us.
I strictly argue that it is him.
Mhm. No, I draw things very much chibi like. I
But,
can pop something there actually. But yeah, like basically
Yeah.
a comic. That's what I'm working on, and voice acting. I don't know what else.
That's so you're kind of
Voice
just
acting too.
dipping into everything.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah, I don't know. I like knowing a lot of stuff. I kind of feel like the stuff I learn from here kind of helps like other things I do, and I try to learn a lot of things from a lot of different schools and mediums, and I feel it has worked so far. I haven't gone crazy, which is something good.
That's
I
always
got that going on for me.
So I wanted to move in before we close out. Where can people find? David's comic book is on the screen as well. So
Well, that's the thing I just released today. That's the fundraiser for the women's shelter. It'll be a full-fledged set next month, but for this month, there is a pay what you want set on Drive Through Role Playing, which I just put out today for International Women's Day.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. I wanted to go into where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you? Social media, if you want to do a social media plug, Patreon plug. Patty, where can people find you at?
All right, so you can find me at Pmal Comics at Twitter. It's Pmal, but I don't remember the name of the thing that is like a
Underscore?
Underscore. Yeah,
Yes.
Pmal _comics. And I'm sorry, language is my second. English is my second language, and I'm there all the time, maybe too much of my time. And you can also find my stuff at Patreon at Paper D&D, like DN, like an N, D.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. David, where can people find all of your conquests, sir?
Well, I've got a Patreon as well, and you can find it at David Oakham on Patreon. I also have Drive Through Role Playing. Oakham Arts Games is where you can find my material on Drive Through Role Playing. I also am Oakham Arts on Twitter, and Oakham Arts Games on Facebook.
Awesome. Kev, where can people find you if they want to suggest really cool tree art on different terrain and locations?
So Twitter at Kev's Lounge, nice and easy to remember. And my Patreon, if people want to patronize me, is Kev's Lounge Paper Minis, and they can buy all my other sets at papercraftdungeon.com.
Awesome. Jess, where can people keep up with you?
If you want to keep up with me, you can check me out on Twitter at Trash Mob Minis, or if you just want to look at pictures, Trash Mob Minis on Instagram. If you want to support my nonsense, find me on Patreon, also Trash Mob Minis. Or if you want to buy previous sets, hit Drive Through RPG, just search Trash Mob Minis.
Can you come here?
Minis. So,
Can you come here?
No, sorry, buddy.
so Marshall.
Yeah, one sec.
No worries.
You can find me at Printable Heroes. You can find my website catalog, printableheroes.com, and then also Patreon, Printable Heroes. All Printable Heroes.
Perfect. And Ryan, where can we find everything Brave Adventures?
We also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Brave Adventures. We're Brave Adventure 5 on Twitter, and we have a website, braveadventures.com, but I'm in the process of upgrading it right now from our old 2014 website to hopefully something a little more modern. So right now it's just a splash page if you go there with links to our other stuff.
That's awesome. So right before we close, I know I keep saying that, but we're all at our core nerds and dorks. And so if we were to make an adventuring party of everyone we had here, what would your class be and what would your race be? I'm going to start with Patty again.
So I like very much to play humans. I kind of like, how they're not very powerful. I feel like that helps a lot with role playing. I like the role playing aspect a bit more than the combat. Sorry. But yeah, I played the Ranger my last game, and I've been liking it like more and more. So probably a Ranger.
Human Ranger. I like it. David, what would you be playing?
Geez, well, I think my first D&D character I ever played was a human magic user named Scrife, which I put a picture up there, and that's probably what I would do. I think I'm kind of stuck on that character, but I sort of played him more like a rogue, and gotten myself in lots of trouble. And I think that kind of sums things up, I think.
Gotcha. So it sounds like an arcane trickster rogue.
Well, this is long before arcane tricksters were a thing.
That's fair. That's fair. Kev, what would you be playing?
Human thief all the way.
Human thief all the way. He's so sure of his answer. That's awesome.
Fast.
Jess.
Humans and thieves are the best D&D characters.
That is fair. They do a lot of stabby stabs. Jess, what would you be playing, and what race would you be?
I'd be a half-orc barbarian.
He is on brand. On brand.
They don't have to read or wear shoes.
I am not surprised at all.
Nothing. You just live. It's great.
He lives in the half-orc barbarian paladin range.
Casting.
Yeah.
I cast fists.
He casts fists every time. Marshall, what would you be playing?
I'd probably do a hybrid fighter. I just feel like they could do anything. Like you got spells, you got shield, you got the hit points. It's just and I don't know. I always end up playing a human fighter.
A lot of names. Cool. Human fighter wizard. I did it. And then Ryan, what would you be playing in a ragtag group of humans?
Yep.
Yeah. I think I also like the wizards. I like spellcasters. So I like to try a 5e wizard and make some prop spell card book, like spell book with little cards for the spells.
That'd be so cool. Wow. I mean, we talked about it, but I would be a knowledge cleric dwarf, and it's because I'm short. It's fair. I'm standing right now. That's how short I am.
I am definitely a warlock tiefling.
Nice.
And our producer Shane is perpetually a DM.
Yeah, actually, that's probably what I should have said.
It was an option.
Yeah, it's always an option. As you guys know, it's never an option to be a player.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for indulging us in this, talking about your product. Like I can't.
I feel like I've learned a lot from all of this.
Thanks for hosting. Thanks. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
We're going to send up an end screen. It's going to have all of your social medias, your Twitter handles on it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
It was fun. Bye-bye.